The next part of the question relates to verification of signatures of registered voters. While the law provides for the amendment of the Constitution through a popular initiative, that privilege is only extended to persons who are eligible to vote in Kenya, and they are registered voters. Article 88(4)(a) of the Constitution mandates the Commission to undertake the continuous registration of voters. Section 4(2) of the Elections Act states that the Commission shall compile and maintain the principal register of voters. Therefore, in operationalizing Article 274 of the Constitution, with respect to verification, the supporters of the popular initiative are supposed to be registered voters. The Commission is best placed to do so. In terms of sequencing between verification of signature and verification that supporters are voters who are registered, it makes sense to first ascertain the latter, that is that they are voters. This means that you must confirm that first the people supporting the initiative are registered voters before moving to the next step of authenticating the signatures. In Article 257(4) of the Constitution of Kenya, it will follow that the Commission has to verify that at least 1 million voters support the initiative. Once the Commission is certified that 1 million registered voters support the initiative, it will then proceed to the next step of verifying that the signatures appended thereto are valid signatures of the registered voters. This is the process that the Commission followed in the Okoa Kenya initiative. As is the case in verifying signatures, the Commission must attest, affirm, and confirm with some high degree of certainty that indeed the supporters of the initiative as listed are registered voters. If there is any doubt on the authenticity of the records, and as far as voter registration details are concerned, a person, such records may not be included. In 2012, the Commission deployed a new system of registration commonly called the BVR. The BVR captures the biometric details of the voter, which includes the fingerprints and face image. The idea behind the new system was to increase efficiency and reliability of the register during voting. On the voting day, voters present themselves with the ID or passport, and they are then identified by the machines. When verifying that supporters of the initiative are registered voters, the central database of registered voters becomes very useful in processing the information. With the BVR system, the Commission is able to run a list of over 1 million signatures, supporters against the database, using the national ID card or passport numbers as unique identifiers with a high rate of success. That's why at the beginning of this exercise, the Commission had urged the promoters of the Okoa Kenya initiative to provide a soft copy version of the list of the supporters. This will have made our work easier and hastened the process. When the Commission received the bill and the bundle of 217 booklets in hard copy on the 9th of November 2015, it reviewed the status of the records and acknowledged every booklet by stamping on every page. The Commission designed the methodology to be followed in the verification exercise and the requirements for the work. Owing to the form in which the data was presented, it became evident that most of the work will be processed through manual data entry before moving to the next step. Okay.
I'll proceed on from paragraph 18. Before embarking on the exercise, the Commission made a request to the National Treasury for funding to facilitate the recruitment of at least 100 data entry clerks for a 30-day period, the training of the clerks, the hiring of the venue, security, among others. On 25th of January 2016, the National Treasury approved the request for allocation of Kenya shillings 24,425,600. Accordingly, on 2nd February 2016, the Commission appointed a project team led by Dr. Catherine Kamindo, our Manager for Research and Development, and Mr. Crispin Owie, our Head of Investigation and Prosecution, to oversee the verification exercise. The project team commenced work on 5th of February 2016, and the terms of reference were as follows: to oversee data entry from hard copy to soft copy, to provide quality assurance during the process of data entry, to organize and archive the booklets, to compile the final report of the verification exercise, and make recommendations to the Commission. The process commenced with the capturing of data, work that was undertaken by the 100 clerks. In a nutshell, the clerks were required to key in the name, the ID numbers of each supporter contained in the respective booklets issued in a prescribed Excel sheet. The Excel file was saved using the serial number of the booklet as a file name. The clerks then submitted a report in the prescribed Excel sheet to their respective team leaders upon completion of a booklet. After data entries of all booklets in the prescribed Excel spreadsheets, the data was handed over to the Commission's ICT team for verification purposes. At the preparatory stage and during the data capture process, the project team made the following observations. One, that the format in which Okoa Kenya submitted the records had inconsistencies. Some of the inconsistencies included some of the booklets were handwritten while others were typed. Out of the 217 booklets, 172 were handwritten, 42 were printed, while 43 were printed, while 2 books were both printed and handwritten. The number of fields or columns which were not in the same in all the booklets that were verified. 43 booklets appeared to have been based on the IEBC register of voters. Formats of and the number of records in the booklets were different. Serialization of the booklets was not consistent. The second issue was that many booklets had entries that were illegible due to poor handwriting. This considerably slowed down the data capture process. Thirdly, a number of booklets had entries that were not signed, such as booklets number 78, 161, 204, and 218. Some records were cancelled but were not countersigned, hence creating doubt over their validity. Also, there were records without ID numbers, while in other cases, one ID number appeared in several records. In other instances, some booklets had torn pages. Other cases, we found that the records entered bore either one name of a supporter, while others lacked names. And in others, multiple entries had the same name but different ID numbers. Some records appeared to have been signed by one person, such as in booklet numbers 18, 54, 86, 90, 93, 94, 95, 112, 122, 124, 128, and 218. In some booklets, one signature covered multiple records. In some cases, such as in booklet number 116, the records bore different marks instead of signatures. And lastly, 10 booklets had some blank pages. Now, following the data capture process, 1,633,577 records were transferred from the hard copy booklets into soft copy. These records entailed the raw data that was to be cleaned and further analyzed for purposes of verification. For clarity purposes, the 1,633,577 records were not the records of signatures of supporters, but a mix of information as it will be explained herein later. The process of data capture and analysis was based on the assumption that the signatures appearing against the names and ID numbers were of the persons for which they appear. At this stage, the authenticity of the signatures was not the issue. The 1,633,577 records were further processed, that is taken through a cleaning process, in order to establish those that were valid records for purposes of verification. Since the law speaks of verification of signatures of registered voters, it was considered that only records with national ID or passport numbers and signatures would be taken to the next stage of verification. The process of cleaning of the data yielded a total of 1,210,707 records, and these records were found to have at least the ID or passport numbers and signatures. And we have a table here that captures that total number of the 1.6 million, and we have a record here of those that we removed, that is records with ID or passport number but no signatures. These were 85,647. We also removed records which had signatures but no ID numbers only, or passport numbers, and these were 84,544. We also removed records with no combination of signatures and ID numbers or passport numbers, totaling to 15. There was also the removal of records which were missing signatures and either the name or ID or passport number, and these were 243,110 records. And we also had the blank records serialized with no information, which were about 9,556. So in total, the records with the names and ID numbers and passport numbers and signatures were 1,210,707. Now these 1,210,707 records were subjected to a further analysis for quality purposes. A closer scrutiny of these records showed some anomalies that needed to be taken care of. Invalid entries were entered in the ID or passport number column were also removed. Some entries had characters that were not consistent with the conventional numbering of the national ID